Hello, my menopausal wonders. I'm just thrilled that you've come back for more information on how your brain changes with age. This is Your Menopause Your Way, and I'm helping you pave the way to avoid Alzheimer's disease. This is video number 247 in the entire menopause education, and the 12th video on Alzheimer's. The Alzheimer's unit began with video number 236, and last week I taught you about how your brain ages. And you might have been surprised with the overall message that your brain gets smarter with age. With your current menofog or brain fog or loss for words, you may have thought that your brain decayed with age. And scientists actually used to believe that your brain slowly decayed with age, but I'm here to tell you that it doesn't. So today we're going to delve a bit deeper into what happens to your brain as you age. In my book, all of chapter 33 is on Alzheimer's, but we're going to get a lot more detailed here in this video with regard to the part about aging. So you should watch this video no matter what. It will be the key to many of the later videos on your management options for preventing Alzheimer's. Do you recall that chart I created in video number 238 on brain buildup and brain breakdown? Take a look at it again. This chart shows you the steps involved with brain buildup and brain breakdown. If you don't recall this chart, it's because you haven't watched video 238. But if you're watching these videos in order like you're supposed to, you'll recognize it. This chart depicts 8 steps in the buildup or breakdown of your brain. They include new neuron formation, 2 neighboring neurons connecting, insulation of the neurons with a fatty myelin coating, cross connections between distant neurons, bilateralization, which is communication between neurons on opposite sides of your brain, formation of deeper ruts in your brain as a result of increased surface area, an increase in the density of your brain, and cognitive reserve, which is the ability to defend against damage to your brain. In video 238, you learned that these things happen in sequence. The more you do to increase and enhance each step, the better your brain works and the smarter you are. But notice that I made 2 columns for each of these steps. There is a column for brain buildup and also a column for brain breakdown for each of the 8 steps. And that's what we'll focus on in this video. In video number 238, I used the fairy tale of the 3 little pigs to demonstrate the differences in brain buildup and breakdown. Their straw, stick, and brick houses either stayed built up or broke down depending on how they built them. Well, today we'll focus on this in a more practical way. So let's start with a bit of history. Historically, scientists believe that your brain progressed through the steps of buildup until midlife and then began the process of breakdown until you died. If we were to plot that on a graph, it would look like this. The horizontal x-axis here is the timeline of your life, but instead of age, I've designated the steps of brain buildup and brain breakdown. And what you see is a graph depicting brain buildup before midlife and brain breakdown after midlife. The blue line is brain buildup and the orange line is brain breakdown. Along the x-axis, you see the increasing consecutive steps, 1 through 8 of brain buildup on the left. And then you see middle age in the very middle. On the right side of the middle age, you see the decreasing consecutive steps 8 through 1 of brain breakdown. This view of brain buildup and brain breakdown resulted from the fact that most studies of aging on the brain were done on elderly people in nursing homes. Nursing homes provided an environment where it was easy to study how the brain functioned, but of course, it only consisted of a very small portion of the elderly population. And it turns out that this model of your brain building up before middle age and then breaking down after middle age is not accurate. Now, we know that the model of how your brain ages depends on you. The historical model of brain buildup before middle age and brain breakdown after middle age can occur, but it certainly doesn't have to. In fact, what should happen is that you should continue to build up your brain over the course of your entire lifetime. In other words, your brain should be in a constant state of construction. So ideally, if you do continue to build up your brain over the course of your entire lifetime, the graph should look like this. What you see here is a blue line indicating brain buildup. On the horizontal x-axis, you see steps of brain buildup only. But notice that the steps are not isolated steps. They reflect continued buildup at each step. So instead of step 1 followed by step 2, you see step 1 followed by steps 1 and 2. Then you see steps 1 through 3. After that is steps 1 through 4, and so on until middle age, at which point you reach steps 1 through 7. This means that you keep building up your brain for all 7 steps. You constantly learn new things. You constantly pursue different subjects. You constantly challenge your brain with difficult tasks. You don't stick to the same old things, and you don't confine yourself to the same work. You are learning new, different, and difficult things all the time. That's what it takes to have continued brain buildup at each step. On that model, after middle age, there are steps 1 through 7 over and over and over again, and that means that you continue to learn new, different, and difficult things. And by the time you reach old age, you acquire step 8, which is cognitive reserve. That's the ability of your brain to protect itself from damage. Step 8 confers extra strength to your brain. But you only acquire it if you've done an excellent job of perpetually building up your brain in the first place. So this modern view is one of a super brain that is actually a benefit of aging and building up your brain more and more each year of your long lifetime. But here's the reality. You have to make it happen like this. It's all up to you. In later videos on management options for preventing Alzheimer's, I will give you the tools with which to do so. And that's because there are very specific requirements for making your brain aging occur this way. And notice that you did not see any breakdown at all on that graph. Why is that? Well, it's because continuously increasing your brain buildup will far outweigh any brain breakdown. There may be some, but it's so minor in comparison to the buildup that you hardly notice the things that break down. Of course, we'd all love to end up with graphs like that one. But what's the most common scenario for the vast majority of adults? It's a little bit of both brain buildup and brain breakdown. Most people build up their brains a lot in their youth, and then they maintain certain aspects of that brain buildup. But they don't really continue to build a lot of new brain by learning new, different, and difficult things. So the most common model of brain buildup over the course of a lifetime looks more like this. Here you see the blue line indicating brain buildup. Notice that it rises steadily until about age 30 or so, and then there are blips of increasing brain buildup. But mostly you see a plateau. Plateau. That's what most people do. They plateau. This graph reminds me of Table Mountain in Cape Town, South Africa, where I lived in 2015 and 2016. It's called Table Mountain because it's a mountain that plateaus on top. It's flat, like a tabletop. Here are a couple of photos of it. Now, thus far on that graph of the most common model of brain buildup and brain breakdown for the vast majority, I've only depicted brain buildup. Let's see what happens with brain breakdown. Because most people only build up their brains during their youth, the only parts of their brains that build up are those that they use. And they tend to use the same parts over and over again. This means that those particular aspects of their learning increase or at least plateau, while others break down. So, you learn some new things but then forget them. Or you learn some new things but never use that knowledge after you learn it. So all those things that you once learned but never use again break down. Let's superimpose the most common model of brain breakdown onto the one we just saw for brain buildup. Now you see the familiar plateau of the blue line representing stagnation of brain buildup, with the plateaus typical of never learning anything new, different, or difficult. And it's a holding pattern of just maintaining what you already know. But in addition to that, you see the orange line representing brain breakdown. And notice that despite the fact that you see maintenance of some of the buildup, you also see more breakdown than buildup. The buildup is somewhat of a holding pattern, but it is offset by the fact that you are breaking down brain tissue all the while. And the overall result is that the brain breakdown negates some of the brain buildup. And while this does not occur mathematically according to the principle of averages, the overall effect of your aging brain is that there is more breakdown than there is build up. So here's how that would look. So now you see a gray line interposed between the blue line representing brain buildup and the orange line representing brain breakdown. And the overall result is that there is more breakdown over time than there is buildup. The bottom line is that you have to know how to avoid letting the breakdown of your brain outpace and overcome the buildup. And that's what I'll be teaching you in the videos on management options for preventing Alzheimer's. I'll teach you how to avoid this, and even this, and achieve this. Okay, now you're all set with regard to the effect of aging on your brain. That was the first risk factor. Our next topic is the genetics of Alzheimer's. That was the second big risk factor, and that's what we'll address next week. So I'll leave you for now. Be sure to come back, though. That reminds me of what they said at the end of the Beverly Hillbillies TV show when I was a kid. Of course, they said it with kind of a Texas accent. It was, "Y'all come back now, here." Okay, go to menopausetailor.me to schedule a consultation. Subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media. That means Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Bye.